Hi, welcome to Focus. My name is Leroy Smith, and today we'll be speaking with High Commissioner of Canada, outgoing High Commissioner uh, of Canada to Guyana, Her Excellency Lillian Chatterjee. Welcome to the program,
Thank you.
High Commissioner. Okay, High Commissioner, you've been in Guyana for just over 3 years. You've served Guyana, Suriname, and the Caribbean, but we cannot define your input in Guyana for those 3 months. So my question to you now is, heading to Barbados, do you believe that your stint in Guyana has prepared you effectively for your Barbados tour of journey?
Well, since both Barbados and Guyana and Suriname are members of CARICOM, and I've had the privilege of being able to attend multiple CARICOM meetings, I have interacted with the Barbados delegation and Prime Minister Mockley, and so very, very familiar with some of the issues that are common to both Barbados and Guyana with regard to resilience, small island development states. There are other issues that Barbados is facing right now due to COVID and the impact economically on the tourism industry, which Barbados is experiencing, as well as their economic issues as well. So I look forward to learning more. I can't say that certainly it's just that there's a lot for me to learn about Barbados. And not just Barbados, I'm also High Commissioner to 6 other Caribbean countries of the OECS. So I've got a lot to learn, but I've got 3 years to learn.
Okay. Guyana is now an oil-producing nation, and there's been a lot of debate with respect to local content. How will the funds trickle down eventually to the average man and woman in the street, and as well as how will development be funded with these oil revenues and so on. What is your position on this issue with respect to funding and so on?
Right. So, well, actually, I don't have a position because this is up to the government of Guyana. But my understanding for what the government wants to do is they want to use, and this is a similar position to the previous administration. They want to use the oil revenues to fuel growth in other sectors and to use it for social programs as well. So, and I don't think it's certainly President Ali has talked about, it's not a trickle down to the citizens of Guyana. They are very focused on employment and training for Guyanese citizens in terms of developing their people, developing their skills, and so I think it's a very positive development for Guyana to use your oil revenues that way.
Your advice to government, the Guyana government or any other government, and parliamentarians about Guyana's development trajectory using its oil wealth. We know Canada would have had some lessons to learn also from this Guyana experience. Tell us a bit about that.
So, the previous administration passed a sovereign wealth fund legislation. My understanding is this administration is also committed to saving some of those funds for future use. They don't want to use all the revenues now. They want savings for the people of Guyana, and so Guyana's in a different trajectory than Canada was when Canada has been in the oil business for a lot longer in Alberta and in Newfoundland. So the we have the advantage of development already, and so actually the similarities are more with Newfoundland and Guyana because both regions discovered offshore oil, and Newfoundland was economically the most behind in Canada. So, and population-wise, similar population size of Newfoundland to Guyana. So there's so many similarities, and it took, when Newfoundland found offshore oil, they went and brought people from other parts of the world who had oil expertise. They have a local content policy so that they could train their people. They also have the advantage of Newfoundlanders who were in Alberta, who had some experience in oil there, coming back to Newfoundland. And so they developed the Newfoundland of today is not the Newfoundland of 20 and 30 years ago. They're very, very, they've progressed a lot. And this is the example we can provide for Guyana. That the Guyana of today is not going to be the Guyana of 5 years from now, 10 years from now. President Ali talks about leapfrogging, and I think he's right. I think Guyana is in a position to leapfrog and learn from the mistakes of other countries and other experiences, and it's a good time for Guyana to really benefit from the progress going forward.
High Commissioner, what may very well be or end as your legacy for your tour of duty in Guyana would be the Canada-Guyana Chamber of Commerce. How do you see this working well for both countries, given that Guyana has its way, its standards of doing business, Canada has its way and standards of doing business? How do you see the Chamber of Commerce benefiting investors and business people from both countries?
Well, as I said yesterday in my speech, it's about partnership. It's not about, it has to be two ways. It has to be mutually beneficial to both sides. And the Canadian approach is not just to come with money, but to come with training, to really partner. That's what we've done all along. And so, and you do it together. And so you come with, Canadians come, Guyanese come, and together they develop something that's better than what they could do individually. And so it's all about Canadian and Guyanese joint ventures.
Canada has shown an interest, High Commissioner, a lot of interest in improving the local justice system, yes. JEST as we call it. Why the need for the justice system as against probably another sector? Why was there so much interest shown in improving our local justice system?
Well, we actually work in multiple sectors, but we've got a long history of working with your judiciary. Some of the work we're doing with your judiciary is to do with your Indigenous communities. So we've got the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of British Columbia working very closely with your judiciary and working with access to justice in Indigenous communities. But we do a lot. We do a lot in terms of British Columbia has a large Indigenous community there. And so we brought in an Indigenous prosecutor who came to Guyana and to the Indigenous communities here to talk about alternate justice. So this is an area that we specialize in Canada. So and also another thing we've been helping the judiciary with is to break the logjam in cases, because there's been a backlog. And there, I have to congratulate Chancellor and Chief Justice, who have done amazing work in trying to get through the backlog of cases so that people don't have to wait so long to get their legal issues resolved.
Given the position we were in before Canada started working with the local justice system, as to where we are today, how do you sum it up?
Well, it's an ongoing process, but one of the things I'm proud of is that we provided a recording to the courts, because before they used to write there, they had to write copiously, write everything down. Now it's all recorded, and so it just makes things faster, easier on the judicial system. The other thing I know that we help them with is to make their laws available online. The previous administration, the previous Attorney General, removed that from being online and transparent. And there's been a commitment made by the current Attorney General to put it back online so that people are familiar with their laws and know what their rights are. That's very important.
We'll take a short commercial break, and when we come up, we'll continue speaking with outgoing High Commissioner of Canada to Guyana, Her Excellency Lillian Chatterjee. Back to Focus. My name is Leroy Smith, and if you've just joined us, we're speaking with outgoing Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana, Lillian Chatterjee. High Commissioner, you've been involved in a lot of things during your tour of duty here in Guyana. Speaking of your legacy and so on, what do you believe, or how do you believe the Guyanese society will remember Lillian Chatterjee?
Well, the thing I'm very proud of is the launch of the Canada-Guyana Chamber of Commerce, and because I hope it lasts decades, many decades of base for good collaboration between our two countries, and to build on that collaboration. And I'm hoping that in the future we'll see Guyanese goods and services in Canada and Canadian goods and services here at both in Guyana and Canada, that our private sector is going to flourish due to improved cooperation between our two countries. So that's my hope, and I hope that that is the legacy that I will leave, and then other high commissioners will come and build on that. Just like previous high commissioners started the initiatives between Newfoundland and Guyana, when I came, I was able to take it to the next level where the Ministry of Natural Resources of Newfoundland signed a 3-year agreement with the government of Guyana. So we all start things and then leave it for others to pick up and build on. So I can't take full credit for anything, and hopefully successive high commissioners are going to do even better. We're all part of the continuum.
Your colleague, Dr. Nicole Giles, she received criticisms from the People's Progressive Party Civic while they were in opposition. You would have received criticisms from the AP and UAFC coalition, from members and their supporters, and this had to do a lot with the elections period and so on. In your respect, what would you like to say to those supporters?
Well, the interesting thing is our position, whether it was Nicole Giles or Lillian Chatterjee, was the position of the Government of Canada, which is respecting the will of the people. Nicole Giles did not favor the APNU administration over the PPP. Canada recognized that the APNU government had won in 2015, and it was not against the PPP. It was a recognition that APNU had democratically won. Same goes for me. I am not pro-PPP. I'm not anti-APNU. It is a recognition of respecting the will of the people, and that the PPP legitimately won the election, as confirmed by the CARICOM observer team at the recount. And so we have worked with every government since your independence, and we will continue to work with every government that is democratically elected by the people of Guyana.
Did you interrupt a meeting of the Guyana Elections Commission at any point? And added to that, had David Granger held on to power, irrespective of what the recount results showed and so on, what would have been Canada's response?
Well, so no, I didn't interrupt the electoral process. Those were fabrications. All my pronouncements were made on behalf of the Canadian government, and so in terms of David Granger, and by the way, President Granger was always very gracious to me. We always had a very good working relationship with him and his cabinet. His government and I worked very well together. But there were pronouncements of our government that said that we would hold accountable anybody who thwarted the will of the people, and we were looking at sanctions.
Would you say what those sanctions would have been, or how those sanctions, what form those sanctions would have taken?
Well, first of all, I say we were looking at sanctions because fortunately we didn't have to apply any. That would have been a cabinet decision. So fortunately, we didn't have to go there because democracy prevailed. But we would have had to look at a series of measures, and fortunately, that wasn't necessary.
What are some of those measures Canada would usually take if you decide to impose sanctions?
Well, there's an escalation. So it starts with visa revocations, and then if and then it escalates depending on where things are at, and it takes time. It takes time, and you don't do this overnight because what Canada prefers to do is not to use a stick. Canada prefers to work behind the scenes, advocating very strongly, and that's what we did. We worked both behind the scenes and through public statements, which we think is more effective because actually punitive action is the last resort. You don't want to go there because we are allies and partners. You don't want to go there if you can work to influence the right decisions, which is what happened, right? In the end, democracy prevailed, and that was the most important thing, is for democracy to prevail. It was severely tested in Guyana, but it prevailed in the end. And I congratulate the people of Guyana who were so patient and so they didn't resort to violence. They were patient during the 5 months, and in the end, it all worked out.
You did admit a good working relationship with former President Granger. How did the criticisms of members of his cabinet and party and supporters affected you personally, if at all?
It surprised me. I didn't expect that because, as I say, we had a very, very good relationship. Canada had a very good relationship with President Granger and his administration. So, and we were just being consistent with our views and policies. Last year in 2019 at the Canada Day event, I talked about respecting the will of the people, and that was before an election had even been called. So nothing I said in 2020 contradicted what I said in 2019. So I'm disappointed that that I got the reaction I did, but it's a democracy.
I'm aware that an invitation or efforts by you to engage former President David Granger was not agreed upon by him because of his schedule. But you do have a meeting later this week with the opposition leader, Mr. Joseph Harmon. What's on the table for discussion?
Oh, it's a courtesy call, a farewell courtesy call. So when I first arrived in 2017, I did courtesy calls when I first arrived with President Granger, members of his cabinet, and with the leader of the opposition. And so I'm now doing my farewells with the president and with members of his cabinet to thank them for for our collaboration. And I want to do the same with the leader of the opposition. This is how Canada operates. We work with all parties, and I've even met with the smaller parties and to talk to them. It's nothing more than that.
Okay. High Commissioner, my final question. Charandas Prasad, it is perceived by Guyanese that your country and yourself might have had prior knowledge of his intended voting intentions in 2018 with that no confidence motion against the David Granger-led government. How do you respond to this?
Well, I emphatically deny that. We did not know. I certainly did not know. I have never even met Charandas Prasad. To this day, I've never met him. And I was out of the country at the time, and my chargé was totally unaware of. She was contacted by him after the defeat of the government, he told her that he was a Canadian citizen, his life was in danger, and he was asking for consular protection. And we are duty bound to to provide service to Canadian citizens who in this situation. And what I have explained, and we were totally supported by our government and by our minister for doing the right thing. I explained to the Granger administration that had we not provided consular protection and something had happened to him, the headlines in Canada would have been that Canada refused a Canadian citizen in need. And that is not a headline you want in Canada, where we would have turned down somebody who might have been harmed afterwards. So we did the right thing. We're very comfortable that we did the right thing, but in no way did we know ahead of time that he was going to defeat the government. And that was just, again, a fabrication.
Thank you very much, High Commissioner Chatterjee, for speaking with us. This has been Focus. My name is Leroy Smith, and we were speaking with outgoing High Commissioner, Canada's High Commissioner to Guyana, Her Excellency Lillian Chatterjee. Thank you very much for your service to Guyana, and safe journey back home and then back to the Caribbean in January.